that word is? Yes. So we got 3. So another person from this side. Okay, Shellyan. Let's try and beat their 3 points.
Naomi, no. The men that work in the field with him, no. No. It's many of them. Huh? No. We'll skip that one. Big and oh Lord, slingshot. Yes, giants. Genesis, Exodus, no, Leviticus. Next one, Deuteronomy. Yes. Oh gosh. Next. Oh shoot. So. Oh yeah.
Another one for this side.
Good job.
Okay.
Who would like to go next?
From this side. Ethan, come. Were you listening to the rules? Okay.
Can I take out my mind?
Yeah. Okay.
What would you consider a vacation? No. 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 What would you describe heaven to be? Heaven to be. Oh. Let me get another one. Another one. Okay, there's 12 of them. 12 of them, yeah. Okay. Damn.
I don't know why I didn't.
I was just trying to get easy one.
Okay. So you had 1 for this team.
Good job.
Can we get another challenger from this side? Okay, Matthias.
That's kind of hard.
Guess so. There's like trouble here. Yeah. Okay.
No. What am I doing? What am I doing? Yes.
One. Sprinkle.
It's a place that New Testament prophet used to go to. No, a New Testament prophet, and it's a place like a city. Oh no, I can't say. What do you bow down to that you shouldn't? Yes. I don't want to go to this place. No, but I could on this earth I could go there, but I don't want to be there at all. But I do something bad to get there. Yes.
That's the wrong team.
Yeah.
2. Okay.
Anyone else want to go?
On this side.
And you can go again if you want. Wait, you can go again too. After. Okay. You can't see them. I know. Come on. Oh. I'm not doing that one. Unto 70 times 7. Blank your enemy. We're marching to. The person that spoke to Mary told her she was going to have a baby. After, when he was born, he went into Egypt, and then when he came back out of Egypt as a child, he went to live in. Oh, okay, good.
5. Okay. Another challenger from this side.
Those who love Jesus are called what? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Starts with a B. Oh, I can't say that. Sorry, I can't say that. He promised to send someone to. After he went back to. Yes, yes, yes. Alpha and. Yes. When things don't go the way we want them to go, we consider that we're going through. Yes, trials. Go with it, yes. Mirror. What's the first word? And mirror. So they brought that when he was being born. Frankincense.
Wow, you guys won. You guys had 5. Okay. This is the tiebreaker round.
For everybody.
Yeah. Whoever.
Everyone. Oh, wait.
People, persons with mental ailment, people with mental ailment, people, what they do to them, people with mental disorders, them, what they do, they reject them, This man, what should I say now, he was, oh my God, he didn't believe in oh, I can't say it's Judas. Thomas, right. Okay, we find Genesis in what? What do we call where we find Genesis? Genesis? We found, where do we find Genesis? What's the other one? Where do we find Genesis? The other one, the opposite. New Testament.
The other one.
The opposite, yes. It's done? It's done? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for playing. Did you guys have fun? So we'll play, tell other people to come and we'll play again. Okay, so now we'll pass it on to our speaker. Are you ready? Yes. Thank you. Do you need?
Thank you. A very pleasant and happy Sabbath evening to the Brampton SDA Church family. How are you all doing this evening? Let me start off by saying today was a blessed day. I did join you for service this morning. My friend and Elder Esmond Simmet, his son Pastor Malika, was installed today, so I came in attendance for the service, and here I'm back for the evening. So my name is Brother Dalton Spencer from the Molten Seventh Adventist Church. I play active role in the area of stewardship. I am the stewardship director there and the associate head of the finance department. So that's a little bit about my background, the church I'm from, and I'm married. Tomorrow is our 39th anniversary. I have 5 grandchildren and 3 adult children. So I'm still young at heart. So I'd like to really get back to thanking the entire leadership team, Pastor Morrison leadership team, and the AY department. Sister Shelly Ann, I hope I'm saying it correctly, Morris was gracious enough to reach out to me, and I was a little bit taken back to see how timely it didn't take her long for her to get back to me and said, Brother Spencer, we want you to be here. And I said, I'm available. So here I am to talk about fraud awareness in the financial mortgage space, because that's where I operate. I'm a licensed mortgage broker that arrange mortgage financing for the general public. But before I begin, let's bow our heads for a word of prayer. Father, loving God, you're never tired to hear the prayers of your children. So we come again to thank you for the blessed Sabbath day that you sanctified, set apart, blessed it, hallowed it for holy use. As I stand before your children, Lord, help that whatever is being said and done this evening, it will first and foremost serve to honor your name with the utmost level of honesty and integrity, and be a blessing to each and every one in the hearing of my voice. Thank you for hearing us our prayers. Tune my heart to sing thy praise, not my words, not my way, not my will, but yours will be done. In Jesus' name we pray. So, fraud awareness. What is financial fraud? I have to admit, prior to the start of the war between Russia and Ukraine, there was a word that I was never familiar with. And I'm sure those of us who listen to the news, you may have heard this word mentioned a few times, Russian oligarchs. Now, who are these guys? Why did I mention them? They own yachts that's worth like, $500-600 million. That's a lot of money. For most of us, the 2 most valuable assets apart from our relationship with Christ, the 2 most valuable assets we may ever own is our home and our automobiles. They cost quite a bit of money. So because of that, unethical professional individuals, they are targeting especially our seniors in the mortgage financing space, because they do realize that our seniors at times build up lots of equity in their home. And trust me, folks, your information is no longer hidden. It's wide open. For example, where's Sister McDonald? I was talking to her. Let me use Sister McDonald because I get to meet her this evening, and I'm sure if I pick on her, she won't beat me up. So let's say I'm just driving by Sister McDonald home tomorrow morning, never have a conversation with her, and she live at 37 Millstone. I don't need to get her permission. I don't need to talk to her. I can go home on my computer, punch in 37 Millstone if that's her home address, and it will show me, because I'm a licensed professional and have access to this platform, it will show me who lives there, what mortgage service provider holds the mortgage on her home, and the dollar amount, and when she opened up this mortgage with whatever that financial institution is. So when you think that your information is safe and secure, it's not to professionals. So some people, unethical professionals, use that information in an unethical way to target seniors. So you can, a knife in a home, in the kitchen, for wives and sometimes husbands too. We help fix the meal sometime in the kitchen too. So you can use a knife to help prepare a beautiful dish or supper for the family. But you also can use that knife for something else, correct? And please feel free to talk back to me. I'm going to go through the slide about 15, 20 minutes, and then I'll open up for questions. Is that all right? So, what is financial fraud? I'd like you to listen to this carefully because there are some very useful, high-value information in this presentation. And by the way, I didn't pull this information I didn't Google them. I packaged this information myself. So, what is financial fraud? Financial fraud is knowingly, willfully, deliberately, intentionally providing fraudulent, misleading information so as to secure or acquire financial financing. So when you know it, intentionally provide information, as an example, let's say you're applying for a mortgage and the dollar amount that you're looking for require that you have your income, your employment income is $60,000, but you're only making $45,000. There are unethical, professional, and sometimes the client themselves go seek these individuals to help them prepare documents to show that they're earning $70,000 for the year when they're only making $45,000 or $50,000. And believe me, folks, there are professional licensed individuals who tolerate those things. Over the last 2 years, I personally turned down close to $20 million worth of business because individuals come to me with that intention. And as soon as they get into that type of conversation with me, it becomes a very short to the point conversation. You need to find somewhere else. I don't do that. You know, I grew up in the church from age 4. And I wasn't the perfect kid. I fall along the way, but after I rededicate my life, I fall in love with one of the passages of scripture in the Bible, and it helps me to stay in the straight and narrow way. It is, and I know it from the top of my head. 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 22. Shun even the appearance of evil. So my brothers and sisters, anything that doesn't seem right, doesn't look right, especially as a child of God, regardless of the worldly value that it has potential to give you, as a child of God, you have that responsibility and obligation to walk away from it. Because remember, God and the Holy Spirit, the helper, the comforter that was mentioned in the AY this evening, has the ability to look down deep into the secret, dark part of your heart. Nothing is hidden from our God. So in a nutshell, that is definition is I believe I define what is financial fraud. So, there are four. Are you able to pull the screen for me, Elder? Okay, thank you. So, the four most common type of fraud, and believe me, there are a lot more, because I just package this so I can fit it and don't overburden you this evening. But the four most common type of fraud that I'm going to talk about this evening is fraud for shelter, fraud for profit, title fraud, and straw borrower. If you can back them up back to the very first one, fraud for shelter. I don't know if you have the ability to do that. If not, I'll just kind of run it. So fraud for shelter. What is fraud for shelter? Fraud for shelter is when an individual or a family wants to acquire or buy a place of residence, buy a home to shelter their family. But again, as I said earlier, their financial position or their credit worthiness meaning your credit score and your credit report is, in our industry, we refer it has bumps and bruises. It's not the best. So what they do, they would find someone unethical, and they are out there. All they look at is the amount of money they stand to make. So they go search for those individuals. I was working a file with a wonderful sister from another church community as a realtor, and working with her client. And when he recognized that I wouldn't play according to his desires, he called the realtor and told her that she needs to find another mortgage agent, but make sure she doesn't say anything to Dalston. I said, I'm fine. When you reject me, there are other individuals who wants me to work with them in an ethical, honest way. So fraud for shelter is when you try to secure funding that you're not qualified for to acquire or purchase a property. And that property is a place for you to live. So you're not looking for the finance to purchase a commercial property to run business. That's why it's referred to or classified as fraud for shelter. Okay, so the next one, fraud for profit. Fraud for profit is, again, when one or more individuals get together and try to secure funding to purchase property that, in some cases, believe it or not, the property does not exist. So they will give you the address, location of a property and other information packaged together to justify or verify. Of course, those are fraudulent documentation claiming that they own this property when the property doesn't exist. Or in some case, the property exists, empty piece of raw land with no dwelling on it, no building on the property. So that, again, in itself is considered fraud for profit. And sometimes what they can do, they even have networks. They have network with lawyers, appraisal company. So what the appraisal company will do, working with them, is devalue the property. So let's say the property is worth, and in some cases they will inflate the value of the property. So let's say the property is worth $250,000. They will get an appraisal report that shows that the property is worth $400,000. Increase that value. And then that they would take that appraisal report to the lender, to the financial institution, and says, here's the appraisal for the property. This is the current established market value. Again, it's corrupt, faulty intel. So that's a little bit of fraud for profit. The next one, title fraud, quick and easy. Most of you should understand that. Title fraud is, and sometimes it involve close family relatives or members, where someone gets your information and use it to secure funding or buy a property or take out a mortgage. And that's one of the areas where seniors are targeted. So a while back, we were looking at an application, a mortgage financing application, where it was a young couple, wife and husband, and they wanted to secure funding to pay off some debts and maybe take a boat cruise or whatever they want to do with that money. But it turned out that their parents was entitled. So anyone who is entitled has to be on the application. But obviously, they were not aware that licensed professional, we have access to information, electronic platform where we can pull up the property and be able to identify all parties that is registered entitled. And once someone like me, as licensed professional, discover that you provide me an application and not all parties who are untitled is on the application, that's falsifying the application. That's grounds for me to terminate the application process. And I don't hesitate to do that. If sometimes we don't live in a one-size-fits-all world, sometimes they may think that they are able to get away with it and don't realize that their parents are senior, they have to be on the application they're covering for them. So if they can credibly prove that, it was an honest mistake and they're willing to, fix that and get their parents to get on the application, and in some case, they didn't want their parents to know in the first place, so they wouldn't want to go to their parents. So those are some of the elements that involve title fraud. Someone using your personal information for fraudulent activities to secure or arrange financing. Okay? The last one, straw borrower. I'm going to move ahead and recircle back to straw borrower. So I will come back and talk about straw borrower. So awareness. If you're able to move your screen, if not, I'll just kind of talk about it as I go along. Great, awareness. So you look for red flag. Their behavior. When you're dealing with a licensed professional like myself, you look at their behavior. Delay in providing you answers to your question. So if you give a licensed professional your mortgage financing application and you pick up the phone a few days later and call them for update and they said, listen, I'm a little bit busy right now, let me call you back later or tomorrow. In most cases, they don't have your application. They're not processing your application. They're taking your application and hand it off to someone else because either they don't have the technical skills or experience to process your application, or in some cases, they're not even licensed. And I'll touch on that as I go along. And how can they approach me, but they're not licensed? And I'll drill down into that as we go along. So look at their response time. Is it timely? Does business card says mortgage specialist or consultant? That is a big red flag, and that's what I was referring to earlier. So if anyone who approach you in the mortgage financing space or industry, and they hand you a business card that says that they're a mortgage specialist or mortgage consultant, they are lying. Throw away that card and run away from them. And I believe my notes there says red flag, explain. So let me explain that when I said specialist or consultant, because some of you may have called the big banks, credit union and trust company, and the person who are working inside that institution says, this is your John Smith, your mortgage specialist. Yes, you can be a mortgage specialist or a mortgage consultant if you're working for a financial institution, bank, credit union, or trust company. However, if you work as a mortgage specialist or consultant for a particular financial institution, you cannot go outside into the general public and solicit or do business or target someone for their mortgage financing need. You can only speak to clients or customers of that financial institution. So that's what I mean when I said, if you see someone out in the general public and they give you a card and it says mortgage specialist or mortgage consultant, look at the card for other information such as the name of the brokerage license number, name, mailing address. It must have all the information you need. That if you would like to independently verify that person's information, you can call the brokerage that they work or call the regulators. Are their answers clearly defined? Does it sound credible, or do you have to go, that doesn't sound so right? If it doesn't sound right and giving you cause for concern, you should drill deeper down into that. So, prevention, ask question. Next slide. So ask for, and when I do these presentations, I'd like to throw in at times some godly biblical one-liner. Ask for, seek, and ye shall find. That's what the Bible says. Ask for full brokerage information to include, and I mentioned that earlier, the brokerage license number, name of the principal broker, the website, phone number, and full mailing address. So again, a licensed professional who provide you with their business card, it should carry all of that information on there. It can't just say mortgage consultant, mortgage specialist, their phone number, and that's it. It must have a website, all the required information that you can contact the brokerage or whatever financial institution they are with. So full mailing address, website, and phone number. So don't do business with, only do business with licensed professional, trusted licensed professional, holding membership with professional accreditation. I don't just have my license with the government regulator. I do have membership with SIMBA, CMBA. So if you look at my business card, you will see beside my name CMBA, which is Ontario Mortgage Association of Ontario. SIMBA, Canadian Mortgage Brokers Association of Ontario. There are two organizations that is accredited for mortgage agent and brokers. SIMBA, which is Canadian Mortgage Brokers Association of Ontario, they are pretty much packaged for the province of Ontario. And then some of you may have heard of Mortgage Professional Canada. Mortgage Professional Canada, it's all of Canada. So again, there are only two professional license recognized designation that is legal in the mortgage financing space. You're either a mortgage agent or you are a mortgage broker. Now, what's the difference between the agent and the broker? The agent is a level below the broker. They don't have the ability to sign off on their file, and every step of the way, in most cases, they have to have a broker to look at their file. I am a broker, so I don't need someone to sign off on my file. I even teach the course. I mentor new agents. I have about 5 agents working under my platform right now. So do business with licensed, trusted professional holding membership with professional accreditation. And by the way, you cannot hold membership with any of those professional accreditation organizations if you have anything unethical in your past history beside your name. So, ask for all full brokers information. Again, do business licensed professional, verify their credential, trust, but verify. I like that one-liner because of former U.S. President Ronald Reagan. So what is this all about, trust but verify, Ronald Reagan? So in the 90s, in the 80s when Ronald Reagan was the president, he went down to Russia to sign off on the nuclear reduction treaty with then Russian President Mikhail Gorbachev. And after they review all the documents and fully accept and agree, they both went ahead and signed off on the documents. At the completion of the signing process, President Reagan turned to the Russian president and said, "Now, Mr. Gorbachev, can we have a verification process in place?" And there was a young U.S. news reporter close by, and the first opportunity he got, he went to Ronald Reagan, the U.S. president, and said, "Mr. President, you just finished fully agree and sign off all of these nuclear reduction treaty documents along with the Russian president. Now that you finished signing them, you're asking for a verification process in place. Don't you trust the Russian president?" And like a pro, Ronald Reagan just threw his arms around the young reporter and go, "Son, it's called trust but verify." So that's where I pick up that one-liner. So I'm going to circle back to straw borrower. Can you flip back to straw borrower, or just maybe roll ahead? Straw borrower. It should come right after that foremost type of fraud. Next one, straw borrower. Thank you. So, fraudsters promise the project. What is straw borrower? So I'm going to break that down for you. So fraudsters, unethical, dishonest, professional individuals, they will promise the purchaser, the buyer who's looking to buy a home, also known as straw borrower. Listen to this. That they will have no responsibility for mortgage payment, taxes, insurance, etc. So they want the straw borrower to purchase the property in their name. Why do they want that? They want them to, so as to use their good credit and strong work employment history. So they would come to you and say, "Listen, we're going to purchase this home using your name, your employment history, and all your personal information. We will buy the home. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to pay make monthly mortgage payment. You don't have to pay the property tax or any of those overhead costs associated with maintaining our own and the property. We will take care of it." So, since they took out the mortgage, they're responsible for paying it anyway, paying it back, even though they never benefited from proceed or profit from increase in value of the property over time. So let's say 6 months or a year down the road, those individuals decide not to make the mortgage. They stop making the mortgage payment or stop paying for the property tax, the utility bills, etc., etc. Because it's your information that they use to acquire or purchase that home. You are held accountable. You are responsible. Myself, oh, by the way, Elder Esmond Simmet, we work together and in the mortgage space, and we are handling a situation. We felt so very bad for this young lady. Someone used her as a straw borrower, and now they just destroy her life from a credibility standpoint. And it's a lot of money. So be on the lookout. So that's what straw borrowers are. So be on the lookout. Next slide. So some people will accumulate debt, skip or unable to make their monthly mortgage payments. When that happens, fraudsters will jump at the chance to offer non-traditional financing option, offering first, second, and third mortgage with the intention, and I have that experience too, with the intention of if they are not able to pay back, because they give you so much mortgage above your ability to service the debt. Your income is not enough to service the debt load that they give you. So the goal is to place a lien. If you're unable to pay back, the goal is to place a lien and initiate foreclosure, forcing the victim to sell their property in order to pay lender. So before I finish there, let me tell you, I have so much personal experience. So I was working in the fall for one of our dear senior sisters across somewhere in the GTA. And she was referred to me by one of another brother who we went to school together way back at Harrison Memorial. So when I get connected with her, I said, okay, she said her mortgage is up for renewal and she can't handle the payment and she's close to being foreclosed upon, foreclosure. So I took the file and I started drilling through the file. And I recognized she had the first mortgage, a second mortgage, and a third mortgage. But what I discovered is that the individuals who packaged the second and the third mortgage, she did have enough equity in her home that she didn't need to have a third mortgage. They could just simply give her one mortgage, a second mortgage, for all the amount of funds she needs because she have enough equity. But they break it up into a second and a third. That way they can charge her $3,000 for brokerage fee on each of the second and the third mortgage. So after I start working on the file, I said, okay, I need to have the proper documentation to support all the mortgage. So that she don't have them, but she provide me the agent who processed her second and third mortgage because the first mortgage was with the bank, straightforward. So I reach out, she provide me their information. I reach out to the agent, and right off the bat, you must start off as professional with respect when you're dealing with other professionals. So I respectfully reach out to him and ask him to provide me the documentation for both the second and the third mortgage. He said, sure. Sure enough, within 24 hours, he emailed me the second and the third mortgage document. But the third mortgage, it's ironic that I use this word to describe it. It was dark and shady. I couldn't read it. So I thought it was just some honest computer glitch why it comes out like that. So I pick up the phone and reach out to him and said, listen, the third mortgage document is dark and shady. I can't read it. And I can't send this to the lawyers who are handling the file. And his reaction was very negative and somewhat hostile. Now, before I come into this mortgage space, I was a senior human resource rep for a large organization that I got a lot of training with people skills. And I have a lot of biblical heroes that I admire, but I also have a lot of heroes out in the secular world that I looked up to. And one of them is one of my favorite, including Nelson Mandela, is, rest his soul, General Colin Powell. I read the Powell Doctrine that he wrote. And General Colin Powell says in the Powell Doctrine, if you walk into a room and you see one cockroach in there, that's not the only cockroach in that room. There is cousin cockroach, mother cockroach, sister cockroach, auntie cockroach. The whole family is there. So immediately, just by his reaction, mind you, I started out respecting him as a true licensed ethical professional. And just his reaction tells me, I just feel like I stumbled into the first cockroach. So the lawyer, and I have a lawyer that I work with too. It wasn't her at the time. I don't mind disclosing this to you. Most of my files that I process them with Sister Chanel Flash. She goes to T West. She's a real estate lawyer. Wonderful sister. So if someone come to me to process their file and they don't have a lawyer, I would refer them to her. But this file wasn't Sister Chanel. So, but the lawyer was working. I pick up the phone and call him and said, I said, I'm processing this file that we're working on, and I just find a cockroach, so we need to go look for more cockroach hunting. He said, what do you mean, Dalston? And of course I explained to him, and he says, okay, I'll do some drilling on my end. And within 24 hours, he get back to me and said, Dalston, I'm glad you pushed the button, because after drilling down into the background of these individuals who handle this, I discovered that the agent who is processing the first and second mortgage is not licensed. And the lawyer supposedly who processed the document and signed off on them, that lawyer supposedly is not a lawyer. He's not licensed. So it was like a group, a package of them working together to do what they're doing. And I just kind of take a step back and at that point let the lawyer handle that part of it. And the ending of that story, I was able to save the sister's home, and she's living happily ever after, going back and forth to Jamaica. And she called me down there a few months ago having a good time. And I said, I hope you're not down there giving those young guys your credit card to run up into debt. And she said, in a jokify way, Brother Dalston, That's exactly what I'm down here doing, so that when I come back, I can come and look for you again. Just a little bit of joke. So, yes, there are individuals who appears, and is that I can't see them. Is that Pastor Morris sitting there? Thank you, Pastor. So you don't need to preach to pastors. The book of Revelation tells us in the last days that we are living in. One of the most alert things that we need to be alert to is deception everywhere. Look around you. Be vigilant, be watchful, because sometimes even the closest individuals beside you, like I explained earlier, close relative defraud their elderly seniors using their personal information to secure funding that they're not aware of. So if you or someone close to you suspect fraudulent activities, the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation urges you to call your local police department and contact the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. Canada's 2020 fraud survey revealed that nearly 450,000 Canadians fell victim to fraud in 2019. Many of these victims are seniors. With the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, fraudsters are getting more creative and more aggressive. So the truth is, Brampton church family, especially your seniors, when one of those guys knock at your door, they already pull up your address. So they know that you have a mortgage on your home, or in some cases you don't have any mortgage on your home, so you have lots of equity in your home, and you might need to do some renovation or help your children and grandchildren pay down college and university debt, because that's where young Gen X is getting money these days for the down payment. Me and my wife, we just got a check for a daughter to help her with down payment, because if parents don't cut a check to help their children with down payment, it's not going to happen. But you want to do it in an ethical way with credible individuals. And that's why I mentioned earlier that I turned down the last 2 years close to $20 million worth of business, because anything someone asks me to do outside of the boundaries of compliance is a very short conversation. You need to find someone else. So yes, we have a lot of tools available to us that if someone come to us with an application for an ear loan, that's another term for giving you the address for a property that doesn't exist, or is just an empty piece of raw land, there's no building on that property, we don't have to drill you. You just need to give us the information and give us the address. And if I punch in that information on my Purview electronic data platform and I can't find that property, or it doesn't exist, or it has someone else's name registered on that property, then we're going to have a quick conversation for some explanation. And if I can't get a credible answer as to why the information doesn't match, then I'm not going to move forward to process that application. So, I did tell you, I packaged this short and to the point. I don't want to overboard you. So I believe at the end, I'm going to open up the floor for question. Over the last four months, I have been doing this presentation across the province. I've done quite a number of these presentations. My home church, Malton, Dunsview, your former pastor, Donaldson, Hamilton East, Guelph, College Park. Pastor De Silva invite me. It's funny, only 2 churches asked me to come in person do it, College Park and Brampton, but I live in Brampton, so that's okay. So yes, I have been doing this, and I'm just volunteering and giving back my time to help my sisterhood, my sisters and brothers in our sisterhood of churches across the province. So I'm going to open up for question. I don't know, you see Elder Esmond Simmet, his name is up there, his cell phone number. You will see my name, Elder Esmond Simmet, and Tashna Spencer. Tashna Spencer is my daughter. She is all 3 of us are licensed professional. I have about 5 agents working on my underneath my platform. I own a corporation called Caribbean Connect Capital. Back by a financial group called Oriental Financial Group of Canada. So my direct cell phone number is up there. Elder Esmond Simmet and Tashna Spencer is there. She provide corporate admin support in the processing of mortgage. So I'm grooming her to take over from when I decide to go sit back and play, have fun in the summer with, Pastor Morris, and show him how I can go to my cousin's home and help her tidy up her kitchen. I have a cousin where every time she bake, I call her and ask her if I can come and help her tidy up her kitchen. So Pastor Morris kindly remind me that don't just go tidy up the kitchen, just show up and give her some things too, and she laughed. I spoke to her today, Pastor. She wasn't feeling well, and just give her regard to both you and Sister Morris. So with that in mind, my brothers and sisters, the floor is yours to throw any question at me. By the way, every time I do this fraud awareness presentation or effectively managing money God's way, I discover even when I went to like Guelph and College Park, a high volume of the questions are relating to reverse mortgage. I process those too, and that's the only place seniors can go to extract equity out of their home to help them stay in their home. Some of you may have heard a lot of negative, bad things about reverse mortgage. Please listen to me carefully. The negative, bad things that you heard about reverse mortgage, sadly, it's true, but not in Canada, down in the U.S. Because the regulation, the financial industry in the U.S., they regulate the financial industry. In Canada, the government does. So a lot of the things that they can do down there as licensed professional, we cannot do that in Canada. If you want me to give you, for example, 65% of the value of your home on a reverse mortgage, I cannot do that. It's not allowed. We're not allowed for that. So in the U.S., they regulate themselves like the police regulate the police. Or my favorite term to describe that is that if you own a chicken farm, it's like you turn it over to Colonel Sanders to take care of that kitchen farm for you. So yes, the negative, bad things that you heard out there in the public about reverse mortgage, I can assure you, it's not in Canada. Reverse mortgage is a good thing. And last year, I was the top broker in the brokerage that arranged reverse mortgage. I have been doing a lot of it across the province for our senior. Quite frankly, I've done a reverse mortgage for members of your church family and others as well. So it's a good thing. If you are faced with a situation where as a senior, you cannot no longer carry the cost, because I have seniors who tell me when I work on their file, Brother Dalston, when I get my old age pension at the end of the month and pay all my overheads, there's nothing left to do, nothing. But in a lot of cases, they own a home that is either paid off for, that worth $1 million or more, or they have a small mortgage like $200,000. So if you own $1 million home with a $200,000 mortgage, it means that you have $800,000 in equity sitting there, staring at you, doing nothing. And you can't properly pay for your grocery bill with $800,000 in equity in your home. God bless you with that. And the Bible says in the book of Proverbs, a time and a season for everything, a time to sow, a time to reap. So don't hurt yourself by having that no, I don't want to touch my equity. It's for down the road. Well, sometimes when you pull up in the grocery parking lot at the supermarket and you see little grandma from the other community pull up beside you in a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW or Jag or a Lexus, they're no different from you. They're tapping into the equity in their home. It's yours. God give you the strength, the opportunity, and the ability to build up that equity in your home. If you need to tap into it, you can't eat the equity anyway. You can't eat money anyway. So if you need to tap into it, rather to maybe renovate your home or help your children and grandchildren maybe purchase their first home or pay down college and university debt, God bless you with it. Use it to your advantage. And before I take this question, there was a senior single mother. She built up a lot of equity in her home, and she's retired. She was retired. And her children saw her every year after retirement taking pre-COVID, taking vacation boat cruise. And they keep wondering, how's mom able to take all these boat cruise and vacation every year? She didn't tell them anything. And then after she passed away and they start drilling into her affairs, mom had a reverse mortgage. So she treat and enjoy life and take care of herself before God calls her home. So I'm going to stop now and open up the floor for question. Question. Yeah. Okay, so let's say your home is worth $1 million. And again, we're hypothetical now, example. So your home worth $1 million. You took out a reverse mortgage because of, and by the way, you don't automatically get, that's a part of, again, the qualification process in Canada. You have to be 55 and older, and it comes with age stipulation. So let's say, Sister McDonald, we both have the same home that's value $1 million. You are 65, I am 80 years old. The bank or the lender will give me up to the max, which is 59% loan to value, because I'm closer to dying. I'm 80 years old. But if you're 65, the most you probably will get is somewhere between 45 and 50% of the value of your home. So the younger you are, the less percentage they will give you. But let me go address your question specifically. So you own a home that worth $1 million, hypothetically. You took out a reverse mortgage for $400,000. What is going to happen over the life or term of the mortgage? Whatever interest is accrued, and remember, reverse mortgage, you don't have any monthly payment to make. You have the option of making 10% per year if you choose to do so, but that's an option. So reverse mortgage doesn't have any monthly payment because the interest is accrued at the back end or at the end of the term. So if you have a $1 million home and you have a $400,000 mortgage on that home, and the Lord take you home, let's say over the term, based on the interest rate is the interest accrued on that $400,000, let's say, is $60,000, as an example. So the only thing you owe the bank is $460,000, plus the lawyer's fee, all of those administration fee, etc., etc. But the remaining $600,000 or $700,000, it's not for the bank. They cannot touch that. It is yours and your family, or your offspring, your children that you left behind. So they can't take, I heard a lot of funny stories about, they take away. No, you maintain ownership and title of your home. And remember, if you get the max, let's say you're 85 years old, so they give you the max, which is 59%, 1% below 60%, and they give you the max. Now, that remaining, so you still have roughly 40% of equity in your home. They cannot take ownership and title of your home. You still maintain the title and ownership. All you're required to do is pay your property tax and the property insurance and maintain your property. You have no monthly payment whatsoever. I process those applications 4 weeks or less. They're the easiest application to process because it doesn't matter if your credit score is good or bad, or you have an income or don't have an income. Some of you may be familiar with the term when you go to the bank for a mortgage, they talk about TDS and GDS. All of that stuff doesn't just brush aside when you're doing a reverse mortgage. All they need to know, are you 55 and over? Do you have equity in your home? That's about it. Did I address your question satisfactorily? Amen. Thank you. Anybody else? I'm sorry, say that again? No. I get that question at my last presentation. And someone called me, which church was that? Hope Seventh-day Adventist Church, about 3 weeks ago. And they said, well, as a licensed professional, if someone do something fraudulent, why don't you report them because you're a licensed professional? My brothers and sisters, listen to this. We live in a country, as our society, of law and order. So just because something is morally wrong, it doesn't mean that I have a legal obligation to report someone. Because in the case of when I mentioned that maybe someone come to me to arrange an ear loan or on a property that does not exist, if I turn that person away and they go to someone else, another licensed professional, they're going to pull the report on that property and see the same thing too. So as licensed professional, we don't have a legal obligation to report someone. So just because something is morally wrong doesn't mean that I'm forced to report him legally. So no, I'm not legally required to do that. However, and I was talking to Elder Campbell as to why I'm so passionate about doing these presentations. Because in every industry you have corrupt individuals, corrupt plumbers, corrupt doctors, you all know, you see it on the news, corrupt mechanics, corrupt mortgage brokers and agents. And when the news come out in the public media about corrupt mortgage agents and brokers, the public tend to say, oh, they just care about their money, they are all corrupt. So if I have an opportunity, and I won't apologize for this. If I have an opportunity to take down a corrupt mortgage broker agent that I know that they knowingly have credible evidence that they're doing something unethical, I will, and I've done that already. I provide information to the regulator and the brokerage to take down others. Let's keep it that way. So, any other question? Did I answer your question, my sister? Yes, so it's just because something is morally wrong. Right, Pastor? Help me out here, Pastor. I don't know everything, you know. Just because something is morally wrong doesn't mean that I have a legal obligation or force to go report someone. Any other question? Sure. The most sophisticated, thank you for that question, my brother. The most sophisticated ones is when the public or the client, like let's say you are the client because you're not you're just trying to secure funding, and you go find a realtor that comes to me as the mortgage guy who's going to arrange the financing. And the first red flag I look for, the realtor will come to me representing you to buy a home, and he start telling me how to package your file. Now, if you have to come and tell me as a professional mortgage licensed broker how to package your client file, you don't need me. And then that's when, for me, I go back to General, and I have a picture of General Colin Powell on my wall in my office. That's when I go to the Powell Doctrine. The first cockroach you see, start looking for more cockroach. If you see one cockroach, there's more cockroach there. I can guarantee you that. That's what General Colin Powell says. You know, so I use him as a guide. Nelson Mandela, one of my favorite mentor in the secular world. So yes, you look for red flags, things that don't serve. If you're coming with your realtor agent to me as a mortgage guy to arrange financing for you, and your realtor guy is on your behalf telling me how to package your file, then he should do it. He doesn't need me. If you have to tell me, it means that I don't know my job. So I see that as silly. Hey, we're all professional. We have access to pretty much the same platform. You know, like it's called the name for it in our industry is purview report. So I don't even need to know you. I could just drive by your home, and let's say you live on 10 Young Street. I say, that's a nice home there. Wonder what's kind of mortgage on there. And I just go home and punch up 10 Young Street on my platform. It shows me that the mortgage that is registered on it, what's the financial institution, the term, whether it's 5 years, and the dollar amount. So let's say you have a mortgage secure on it for $500,000 or $300,000. You don't need to tell me that. I can find out that myself. So there are so much tools, because the criminal, they get so sophisticated that the government keep trying to stay one step ahead of them. So now, you remember, and it still goes on, the guys still try to do it. Remember how when you go for mortgage financing, they would ask you for like your NOA, your notice of assessment, your T4, T1 general, etc., etc.? Well, now, we as licensed professional do have the ability to pull your T1 general straight from CRA, Revenue Canada. We have the ability to do that. And also, this is scary again, we also have the ability to pull your bank statement too. So if you are trying to say, I got $800,000 or $500,000 in the bank, and when I look at this over time and based on your incomes, like, how are you making $45,000 yearly and you build up $800,000 or $500,000 in saving? Red flag. Unless it's given as a gift from your parents or inheritance, or you win some money, or you buy stocks and you did well. Like, I'm an aggressive guy, I buy stocks. You know, my license doesn't allow me to do that for the public. I can do that with my own money. So if you can't credibly determine how you arrive at certain dollar amount in your bank account, then that's a red flag. Because I mentioned in the presentation about the anti-money laundering department. Anytime you deposit over $10,000, you have to justify where that money comes from. And when we're doing mortgage now with the lenders, if it's over $5,000, they want us to provide them credible information, go back to the client and find out, where did you get that $5,000 deposited into your account? What's the source? Because, believe me, the government and the anti-money laundering department is not playing when they come across items or elements like that. So yes, there's guys out there who they don't, wait, I'm a licensed professional too. What's wrong with your brain? You know, I can just go punch a few buttons and verify some of the things that you're telling me. And if they're not right, 1 Thessalonians 5:22, right, Pastor? Shun even the appearance of evil. Have I answered your question, Elder Campbell? Yeah. Just don't deal with unethical, corrupt individuals. Now, I believe I had a good little talk with Sister McDonald because of the delay this evening. We become good friends, you know. And she says, but sometimes, Brother Spencer, some people just need a little nudge, a little bit of help there. Yes, you need a little help and a little nudge. But you don't have to do anything unethical or corrupt. If your credit is battered, bumps and bruised, and your income isn't where it's supposed to be, there are two options. There's more, but the two main ones that I recommend. You want to buy a home and you're not in a financial position, your credit worthiness is not where it's supposed to be, try and find a close, trusted family member, friend, brother, sister to join you who have, you know, credible income, employment, to join you on the application to strengthen the application. The next thing is, if your credit worthiness is not really the greatest, there are lenders who will work with you. Of course, it costs you a little bit higher interest. But again, you don't have to do anything corrupt, unethical, or fudge numbers. We are children of God. Go ahead, Pastor. Mhm. Great question. So that is clearly defined to you so you understand as a father, as a dad, that listen, if your daughter loses her job and you're on this application, you are responsible. For the young, those of us who may be online viewing, or some of you young people, you may have stumbled across the name Dalston Spencer Jr. is my son, and he's a basketball phenom and do a lot of credible things in the basketball world. He's a certified NCAA basketball recruiter. So, yeah, Dalston come to me and his mom, and as well as his sister. Sister is the oldest of the three, and we didn't go on title with them because we want to protect our assets. And you know, just go back to the Bible. Father have, mother have, blessed is the child that have his own. So we will help our children. Not saying you shouldn't help your children. God wants us to help our children, but not at the expense of dragging you down in the gutter. So what we do, for example, with our daughter, we didn't go on an application so our name was secure. We cut her a check and say, here, sweetheart, to assist with your down payment. Now, if you can't carry that home, it's not going to impact or affect our credit worthiness. We will most likely, as our daughter, if she get caught up in trouble, we will look for ways of how we can help you, but not at the expense of destroying or damage our credit worthiness. Because if we are damaged and she get damaged, we can't help her either. And they're understanding. So yes, let's find a way, ethical way, that, and just find a trusted professional who will guide you through this step to work through those. Let me tell you another story about Dalston Jr. It's our only son. So he's doing well too, and now just bought a home out in Hamilton. But a few years ago, Dalston lost his job, and he also needed a car, and because he lost his job. And you know, buying a decent car these days, it costs a few nickels and a few dimes. So he came to us, and I said, okay, Dalston, don't worry, Daddy will help you. So I hop into my vehicle, and we start driving around town and, you know, looking at vehicles until we identify one. I said, okay, great. Look at the price tag, and I said, don't worry, I'll cut you a check. The check was, of course, a few nickels and a few dimes. Let's call it that way. And he looked at it, great son, my only son, love him to death. And give him credit, he goes, Dad, don't worry, man, I can't take this, I'm gonna pay you back. I said, Dalston, it's a gift. He said, no, Dad, I can't take advantage of you like this, I'll pay you back. And I said to him, okay, Dalston, you know what? Why don't you give me back that check? The next time I write you a check is when you guys put me in a box and put nails around the four corners. And he go, okay, Daddy, I get it. Give me back the check. So if you can't help your children while you are alive, how are you? You have no idea what's happening. Talking about will, let me tell you something about will. Two things. It's the first thing about a will, and I see a lot of young people going gung-ho. I got my will. I have, I didn't mean to say will, I meant to say POA, power of attorney. They're going gung-ho around. I got power of attorney for my senior parents. Well, as long as your senior parents are in a credible frame of mind to make credible choices and decisions for themselves, that piece of paper called power of attorney means nothing. Absolutely nothing. Until they can no longer make choices for themselves. So, and for the will now, let me talk about the will. Wouldn't you prefer to know that you deploy some of your assets while you are alive to your children and help them, and also get to see how they manage it? That brings you satisfaction, rather than when I die, you will get this. You have no idea what's going to happen. Sometimes some of us brothers and seniors, and I love and respect you because I'm here, I'm where I am today because of the seniors in our church who love me. And every time I go down there, I can't talk much because I get emotional and I want to cry because of the seniors who wrap their arms around me and help me. Elder Jones, who was here out in Niagara Falls, no, Brother brain cramp. Brother Elder Kennedy at Malton. He treated me like a father-son relationship. He grew me to take over the leadership role as a stewardship director at Malton. I remember the first time I preached at the little church in Brampton, the Southern Asian Indian community. I was helping out Pastor Backus, former president, invited me to come there and help him out for 7 years. So I was in special assignment with Pastor Backus. And the first time Pastor Backus asked me to preach, Elder Kennedy come to support me. And Pastor Backus says, because he know how I felt about Brother Kennedy, he said, make sure you don't say anything, point him out in your opening comment. I said, I didn't know why he was telling me that. I said, okay, Pastor. But when he got up to introduce me, and Elder Kennedy was sitting up front, he says, Dalston is a disciple of Elder Kennedy. And I feel so humble and honored. So let's take care of our young brothers. Where's your AY leader? I spoke with her during the course of the week and meeting her in person for the first time. And I want to hug all of our young brothers and sisters in a father-like, loving way, because if we don't pass on what we have to them, there won't be any leaders and church for that reason of tomorrow. So let's cherish and love our young leaders and give them the information and the support they need for them to learn and grow. You know, so seniors, that stuff about I got $1 million or $800,000 in my home and I'm not going to touch it, it's for when I die. No, please. If you need it for yourself, one of her sisters who I process her, bless her heart, she opened up to me. And this is not because she is unfaithful, but some of us at times in your situation, you don't behave the way you should, like Abraham. That's another sermon, you know, when he was going back to Egypt and you know, it wasn't his neck on the line like his son Isaac. His neck was on the line. He says, Sarah, make sure you tell them that you're my sister. So this sister, elderly sister, she said, Brother Dalston, sometimes, and I did a reverse mortgage for her, and she's now happy and living happily ever after. Reverse mortgage allows you to stay in your home as long as you are alive. Nobody can take you out of it. At least that's how it's packaged in Canada. So she said to me, Brother Dalston, before I close her file successfully, sometimes when I get my pension, old age, and pay all my bills at the end of the month, I have nothing left for tithe. And it broke her heart, not because she wanted to be unfaithful, but the numbers wasn't matching, wasn't adding up. So if you have equity in your home, remember, who gave it to you in the first place? He is the source. Psalm 121. He's the source from when all of our help, our strength, our blessings flow. And again, I mentioned this earlier in the book of Proverbs. Time and a season for everything. Is it Proverbs or Ecclesiastes? Ecclesiastes. Yeah, time and a season for everything. A time to gain and a time to lose. A time to gather and a time to cast away. A time to sow and a time to... So why would you have all of that equity in your home and you can't even buy a grocery? I tell you, it's not going to happen to me. I'm going to drive a nice car, and I like nice clothes, and I like to treat my wife, and sometimes I give her the biggest surprise. I said, we're just going to go for a drive. You ladies might know of a store. They closed it since the COVID thing. It's called New York, New York. Any of you ladies ever hear? Well, they used to have, I live in Brampton, and they have one of those stores in Newmarket. And it was fun for me to just say, honey, let me drive you up to New York, Newmarket store. And she loved it. You know, so treat yourself, treat your family, your loved ones, your wife. I went to the store, and wives have a way of Pastor, you probably encountered this. They like to look at the price tag. Oh, it's too expensive. So I took her into this store in New Market, and she started looking. I see this gorgeous dress that I don't want her to walk out of the store without that. We got to take this home. I'll pay for it, honey. Don't. And she started looking at the price tag, and she didn't want to buy it because of the price tag, but she loved it. And there was like a little stool thing that they have where the ladies, they step on it to try and dress the length. Right, Sister Morris? So when she didn't want to do it, I look around in the store and I see about 8 ladies in there. No guy. I was the only guy. And I go over and pull out that little stool thing, and I stand up on that little stool thing and I say, "Hey, ladies, look over here. You see this nice dress here? I wanted to buy it for my wife, but she won't let me buy it for her because of the price tag." And when I said that, all of them in a group just attack her and start telling her what a nice husband you have, and and I just step back, and by the time they finish with her, she pick up the dress and walk to the cashier. So treat yourself, take care of your family. God says you are worse. I love to preach, Pastor, even though I'm not a pastor. I love to preach. God says, He tells us so much things to make life fun and happy. You are worse than an infidel when you don't take care of your family. So you have $800,000 in equity in your home, and you can't take care of your family. You can't treat your wife or help out your children who are struggling. I'm waiting till I die. So I tell my son, "Dalston, that's cool, man. You don't want to take that check now? Wait till I die. Then I'll cut you." And he goes, "Okay, Daddy, I got it." So, fun evening. Any more questions? You young people, I didn't get much question from the young people. Talk to me. I love you all, guys. Any more questions? In addition to fraud awareness, I do effectively managing money God's way to stay out of debt or get out of debt. That was the presentation I did at Guelph about 4 weeks ago. I do, of course, reverse mortgages. That's a separate presentation on reverse mortgage. And I do motivational speech to young men and young women too, to help them maintain their course and remain strong, faithful, and obedient. So I'm passionate about giving back. I'm a senior citizen too. Yes, don't let the tall, dark, handsome guy fool you. I'm no word of a lie. April, Good Friday gone by, I turned 66 years old. Yes, 5, as I told you in the opening comment, 5 beautiful grandchildren and 3 adult children. Tomorrow marks 39 years of my wife putting up with me and my big mouth. So, any other questions, guys, brothers and sisters? Mm-hmm. Great question, but you define that. You said you comment the application is built based on your information. You said, Brother Spencer or Dalston, I'm looking for some construction financing loan. I have an empty piece of raw land. There's no house on it. So you define that. But coming to me under the disguise that you have this piece of property with a lovely, beautiful home on it, then that's where the problem comes. You understand, my brother? You define that, Brother Spencer, I got an empty piece of raw land somewhere up in New Market or north end of Brampton. Or what's the others when you cross over Brampton? Caledon. There's a lot of empty raw land up there. It's just an empty piece of raw land. I'm just looking for financial construction funding to build a home under. That's okay, that's all right. But if you come to me under the disguise that I got this beautiful property up in Caledon with a lovely home on it, and when I run the report on that property is an empty piece of raw land, then we have a problem. Then that's the first cockroach I see. Does that make sense now, my brother? You have defined. That's why I said, what is financial fraud again? Remember, is willfully, intentionally, knowingly, deliberately providing false and misleading information to secure finances, financial funding. So you should have come to me, brother, and says, I got an empty piece of raw land. I need financing to build a house in it. Plain and simple. Then we are in the clear. We are in the boundaries of and guideline of compliance. So when I go to my lender, that's exactly what I'm going to tell them. Empty piece of raw land, looking for funding or financing to build a property. Now, if you tell me that there's a property in it and I didn't do my due diligence and run the report on that address, when the lender do their due diligence or run the report on that address location and see that, they're going to pick up the phone and call Dalston. Hey, Dalston, what's going on here? So I don't wait to forget. Every property, every purchase, every refinancing, I run the report on the property before I contact the lender. 100%. And I train my new agents that are working with me to do the same thing too, because I have that platform. Any other question? I wouldn't go for adjustable. And again, at the end of the day, regardless of our recommendation, you as the client have the final say as to the decision. But if you ask me that question and I'm working on your file right now, because of what I see and all the information that we have access to, I wouldn't, if you're relying on my professional guidance, I would not recommend that you do a mortgage term beyond three years. The reason being, interest rate is higher. During the height of the pandemic, all the lenders, they lowered their rate because people was losing their job left, right, and center. They didn't have business, so they lowered their rate to attract business. Now that it's open up, rates have doubled. So if you go lock yourself in say a 5% interest for 5 years right now, what if something happens and the rate goes down 2 or 3 years? You're locked for 5 years. For you to take advantage if rate goes down, the bank now or the lender is going to charge you a penalty to break that mortgage. And sometimes the penalty that you're paying is too much to absorb. Plus the brokerage fee, the lawyer's fee, the lender's fee, all that kind of fee that goes along with it. So to answer your question, at this point, current time, I'm recommending to my client, don't go 5 years, go 3, because if the rate goes down, then in the near future, 2 or 3 years, you're not locked in for 5 years. And I can tell you right now, automatically, you go to most of the big banks, they want to lock you in for 5 years. Because they know that if the rate comes down, for you to break that 5-year term 2 or 3 years from now, they charge you a huge penalty for breaking that mortgage. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's doubled. Like I did a reverse mortgage in December, just December gone, and the rate that I got for the client at the time was 3.44. If that same client come to me, everything remained the same, and I was doing that reverse mortgage today, they would be paying 6 point something, doubled. Rates have doubled, and that's why I said, because it's increased so much, I would recommend that you don't go 5 year, you go, and again, not one size fit all. You may have an objective, financial objective, that within 2 years, something gonna happen, gonna get some money or whatever the case might be. So Brother Spencer, 2 years would fit into my bracket or my ballpark. But if you don't have something on the horizon where you're gonna get some money or from some investment that you do, then I would recommend 3 years, not 5 years. And I try to stay away from recommend variable rates. The reason being, it means I don't have to do this. I mean, as your mortgage guy, yes, sometimes I do it, but I'm busy. I got a lot of stuff doing. But you as the client have the responsibility to keep monitoring rates so that if it increase, you know that, hey, I need to go lock it at where it's at right now. And if you don't have time or the savvy or the ability to keep monitoring the rates on an ongoing basis, then that's kind of a not good either. So I like to put my client in a firm, lock, reasonable rate and term so that you don't have to get up every day and watching the news where interest rate is going. It gives you a more peace of mind. And we all like to sleep comfortable at nights, right, Elder Campbell? Yeah. Any other question? Wow. So it looks like I have addressed all your questions. Going once, going twice, going thrice. Any more questions? Okay, well, with that in mind, my phone number is up there. And I usually don't like to give out cards because I stay away from it, kind of have that feeling of selling or soliciting, and I stay away from that. But my number is on the screen. My daughter, Tajna Spencer, is corporate admin support. Help me with files. Her number is up there. And I'm sure your leaders, I think it's safe to say I have a beautiful, friendly relationship with your AY leader. She has my card, my contact information, and Pastor Morris has my contact information. I used to be in the messenger. I was in there every quarter of 2017 and a little bit of 2018 too. So my face got blown around. Well, I saw a brother here today, Brother Miguel Brown. He was visiting from Alberta. And I haven't seen him for like maybe 30 years because he was in, when I just came up from Jamaica, he was at Ransonsville or Bethel, and he moved out to Alberta. So he walked over to me and says, "You remember me?" And I did remember him. But he says, "You haven't changed. I recognize you readily because while I was in Alberta, I used to see your picture in the messenger." And that messenger, it caused, most of the time when I go to other churches and preach, they kind of the members kind of refer to me as pastor. So yeah, I'm not a pastor. I'm just one of your brothers. I preach here about, some of you may or may not remember, but I preached here about roughly a year ago. It was Stewardship Day. So I think it's safe to say I'm really no stranger to the Brampton church family. One of my close friends, and I haven't seen him, I didn't see him today, Aaron Burnett. Yes, we go back a long way. When I was in human resource in the 90s, Aaron was one of my hires as well, so we go back a long way. Wonderful brother. With that in mind, I think I've utilized your time. Let me humbly, thankfully say once again, thanks to your entire leadership team, from your pastor down, board of elders, the youth AY department led by Sister Shelley Ann Morris, who gracefully reached out to me last week and said, "Brother Spencer, we want to have you." So I feel very humble and thankful. I don't take it for granted when someone invite me to come and share, because I'm not the only guy in town. You could have found someone else to do this. So again, I thank you. And I hope I have provided you with some target, high-value information to help you to be on the lookout, be on guard for unethical, corrupt professionals who are targeting especially our seniors. If you have any doubt in your mind, contact your pastors. Contact another trusted, licensed professional, someone that you do business with in the past and you trust them. And I always tell the congregation this. Just because of I do this, if you have an established, trusted relationship with another professional who does what I do, stay with them. Plain and simple. This doesn't mean that I don't want your business, because that's what I do. But God provides for us all. Right, Elder Campbell? Absolutely. So yeah, if you do have a trusted relationship with other professionals that you do business with in the past and you're comfortable and you still have access to them, tap into them because you have the relationship and the history. Because I do that too. For everyone who comes to me and don't have a lawyer, I just call my sister Chanel Flash at T West and say, I got a file that I need you to process. Because she's a sister in Christ, we have the relationship. And when I do reverse mortgage, some of our senior doesn't drive anymore. They have to sign the document. She will drive to their home and do in-home consultation and help do the legal stuff with them in their home to help and assist them in processing the file to take it to a successful closing. And I just said the word closing, ironically. So if you don't have any other question, again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for having me here this evening. And if you choose to invite me back for the seminar, just let me know. I love you all. I'll continue to pray for you as I ask you to pray for me, my family, and my ministry, because this is definitely, I consider this as a ministry of giving back. Pastor Back has also anointed me in the ministry of healing. So pre-COVID, I used to go to hospital and home, Seventh Adventist or non-Seventh Adventist, and pray with them and anoint them with alabaster oil. Yes, I found that oil cost me a lot of money, but I was able to secure some, and when I pray for others, I pray and anoint them. So with that in mind, I don't see Pastor Morris. I don't know if I should ask your AY leader or our Elder Camber, or I can just maybe stop now and ask your leaders to come and just take over from here. And
Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you for coming. At this time, we'll just stand and pray to close. Is there any announcements? So Education Day is next week. Board meeting at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Any more announcements? Okay, please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing us here tonight to learn more, and so that we're not deceived in certain practices. I pray, Lord, that you give us wisdom and understanding and be with us as we make these important decisions in our lives. I pray, Lord, that you'd be with us through this week and provide us safety as we go home. Thank you so much for being such a great God who loves us and cares for us. In Jesus' name, amen.